Welcome back, Leo Lions. This is Mrs. Morgan with today's lesson over surface area, and we're going to cover two shapes. We're going to do rectangular prisms, and then the second page we're also going to do cylinders. So we've done some work with surface area of rectangular prisms, and I'm going to do a quick refresher so that you have these in your notes. So in a rectangular prism, you want to name one of the side lengths the length, one of them the width, and one of them the height. And then remember that the goal here is to find the surface area of all 6 faces in this rectangular prism. So I have the formula up here that we've been working with, and I'm going to take these kind of step by step. So I'm going to do twice the length times width first. So the length times the width, I have those labeled already. So what we're doing is finding the area of this bottom, the base rectangle. And then remember that it's parallel face, so the rectangle that is on top is the exact same, and that's why we're multiplying it by 2. So we'll do 2 times the length was 14, and then times the width, which was 15. And remember, you could use your calculator. So 2 times 14 times 15, 420 would be the square footage, or I guess the square meters of those 2 faces combined. Okay, and then we're going to do the next 2 faces. So that includes those 2 red rectangles that I outlined. Next part, we're going to do 2 times the length times height. So the length times the height. Again, I'm going to outline those boxes. So here is the length, and then the height is up and down. So now we're actually looking at the front rectangle. And then remember, the back rectangle is the exact same. So we only need the length and the width. We need the 2 dimensions of those rectangles. So the length is 14, and then the height is 8.5. So we'll do 2 times 14 times 8.5, and then that would be the area of those 2 front and back faces. 2 times 14 times 8.5, and we have 238 square meters for those 2 faces. And then next up, the blue part of the formula, we have 2 times the width times the height. So again, I'm going to outline those rectangles. We have our width measurement there, our height is up. So now we are looking at the sides, the right and the left sides, because that rectangle is the exact same as this blue rectangle over here. So that takes care of all 6 sides, and the width was 15, and then the height was 8.5. So we'll find the area of that side by doing our 15 times 8.5, and then we multiply it by 2 because there are 2 that they are exact same. So we wind up with 255 square meters for that section. And then don't forget, our last step would be to total all of these up. So we want to add everything, and we could add straight down. 8 plus 5 is 13, and then we have 3, 6, add our 5, so we have 11, 5, and then plus 4, so we have 913 meters squared for the total surface area of that rectangular prism. Okay, so that should all be reviewed. We've done that in class, so you could actually do this second example on your own. Now, on the base shape here, we are shown that the 6.9 for this side length, it's the exact same as all the other base side lengths, because that one line on there shows that it's actually a square on the bottom shape. So pause there and see if you could do the second example on your own and get the correct total surface area. So the length and the width, and again, it does always help to label your 3 numbers. So since the square base is the same, one of the lengths is 6.9, the width is 6.9, and then the height is 2.5. So we'll do 2 times 6.9 times 2.5. Actually, I'm going to do the base first. So 6.9, that was the bottom. and I'm going to wait and do all my calculations at the end. So that's the bottom rectangle and the top rectangle. So there's 2 of the 6. Then we have twice the length times height. So your length times your height is going to be one of these small rectangles directly across, then is the exact same. So those measurements are 6.9 and 2.5. So 6.9, 2.5, and then times 2 because those 2 are identical. And then the last is our twice our width times height. So our width times our height then are the last 2 faces. And these are identical again. And since that base is a square, it's actually the same dimensions as our green outlined rectangles. So we'll do 2 times 6.9 times 2.5 again. So now I am going to put everything in my calculator and do 2 times 6.9 times 6.9. We get 95.22. I'm going to do the other one at the same time. So 2 times 6.9, and then the height was 2.5. So what happens here, so that 2 times 6.9 times 6.9, that was 95.22. And I've run out of room there. And then the 2 times 6.9 times 2.5 was 34.5. And then this last one was the exact same. So we'll do it again. And then last step, we're going to total all of these up. So the total surface area. And we've got a 2. I'm adding straight down over there. Then 10, 12. I'm going to bring my decimal straight down. I ran over on the right side, so I run out of room. 6, 10, and then 14. Carry my 1. 9, 10, 13, 16. So we get 164.22, and then that's centimeters squared. So there's our total surface area for that example. So that is a refresher on the surface area of rectangular prisms. Now the second shape we're going to do is a cylinder. So we have a formula again for a cylinder. I'm going to do it in 2 separate colors to show you what the 2 parts of the formula actually mean. So we have 2 times pi r squared, and then we have plus 2 pi r h. So that is our formula that we will use consistently over and over for any type of cylinder. So think of a can of pop. That's an example of a cylinder. So we're going to find the surface area of this cylinder below and round to the nearest tenth if necessary. So 2 pi r squared. Pi r squared is the area of a circle. So we put that 2 in front because the area of a circle, we have 2 of them in a cylinder. If we're finding everything on the outside of this shape, then we want to find that circle, the area of the circle on top, and the area of the circle on bottom. So that is where that 2 pi r squared came from. Now I'm going to leave those unshaded so I can see the middle of it. And I'm going to do that 2 pi r squared part of the formula. Now, our radius, remember, goes from the center to the outside of the circle. So this 13 is the radius. So when we use this part of the formula, we're going to do 2 times pi times, and then in place of r, I'm going to put 13 squared. Okay? Now, to do this part and keep pi in it, we just work with the numbers, and we forget about that pi for a second. So we can do 2 times 13 squared all at once, and we get 338. And then we've done nothing with the pi, so I'm going to include that. 338 pi. So that is the area of the top and the bottom circles. Now the second part of the formula is 2 pi r h. 2 pi r is the circumference of a circle. So it's around that outside. But then we multiply it by h, the height, so we get everything around the outside of this cylinder around the outside. So that is 2 pi r h. That's where that blue part of the formula is. So 2 times pi, we already know our radius is 13. And then multiply it by the height, and our height here is 19. There we go. So I'm going to replace h with 19. Again, just work with the numbers. Forget about pi for a second. So 2 times 13 times 19, and we get 494. Again, haven't done anything with pi, so I'm going to include that pi, 494, right next to it. Now, next step, remember there was an addition sign in between those two parts of the formula up here that I gave you in the beginning. So we're going to take the part 2 pi r squared, the 338, and don't forget the pi, and then we're going to add it to the 494 pi. So at this point, we can, again, just work with numbers and do 494 plus 338, and we get 832. And then our last step is to work with the pi symbol and do 832 times pi. So I could actually take that times pi, and we get, ooh, that did not work because it's following order of operations. So I want to take 832 times pi. There we go. That is a different number. So 2,613.8. 2,613.8, and this was labeled with millimeters squared. And there are our two, we actually have two answers here. If we ever want an exact answer in terms of pi, that would be this answer with the pi symbol in it. And then if we wanted to round, like this example asked, then we would give them 2,613.8 millimeters squared. However, both of those are the exact same answers. Okay, again, pause the video here and see if you could do the second example on your own. So it may help to draw a picture of the cylinder. We know that it has a diameter of 12 centimeters and a height of 8. So we know the height is 8 centimeters. However, this example, we're given the diameter all the way across. So to find half of that, remember we want to cut it in half. So if the diameter is 12, we will divide that by 2, and then the radius is 6 centimeters. All right, so now we're going to do those two parts of the formula again. We're going to do 2 pi r squared. We now know the radius is 6, so 2 times pi times 6 squared. At the same time, I'm going to do my 2 pi r h. So 2 times pi times the radius was 6, and then we know the height was 8. Okay, again, I'm going to take these kind of step by step, and I'm just going to work with my numbers. So we would do 2 times 6 squared and get 72. And then remember, nothing with pi yet, or I haven't multiplied by pi, so it stays in there. And then I'm going to do 2 times 6 times 8, which should be 96, and it is 96 pi. And then last step, we just need to combine these. So 72 pi, and then we're going to add 96 pi. So 72 plus 96. Oops. 72 plus 96, we get 168, and then we're going to do that answer times pi as well. So we get 168 pi. Remember, that is the exact surface area in terms of pi, and then that also equals, and I already multiplied those out, 527.8. So 527.8, again, our units, which was centimeters squared for surface area. So two answers again. One of them is our exact in terms of pi. The other one is rounded to the nearest tenth. So there is our example how to find the area of that surface area. Two different parts of the formula, remember, and it may help to label this. The 2 pi r squared are your bases, the two circles, and then the 2 pi r h is the curved area, and then we combine them to get the total surface area.